Good day, and thank you for joining me here again. As you can see, we've decided to start filming during the day, so that's a bit of a change from my usual night filming sessions. Hope this works out a little better. A little brighter outside, so I don't need the artificial lights. So anyway, let's get started. Today we're going to be talking about understanding and respecting different points of view. Now, in this technological world we live in, it's easy to get yourself into a silo and surround yourself with points of view that you agree with. You end up in an echo chamber where you're no longer being forced to confront and struggle with what you believe. And I believe this is dangerous because it leads to mediocrity and also because you'll find yourself unable to deal peaceably with the rest of your community. This isn't just about politics either. It's about your worldview, how you interact with science and technology, your religious views, and how you treat people of other faiths. Really, it's something that affects every aspect of your life. Now, if you aren't challenging your beliefs and testing limits to them, how can you be sure that what you believe is the most true? I want to be intentional about how I say that. Most true. The nature of human beings is that we are flawed. Inherently, we're flawed. Because we weren't around when it all began, and because we will all inevitably shuffle off this mortal coil, our view of existence is flawed. It's flawed by time and perspective and limitations of the mind. All we can hope to do is be better. Just every day, we can just hope to be better and strive for that. Now, when the United States was founded, they took the same approach, and they took it for the same reason. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. Not perfect, more perfect. Because it's a continual striving to be better and build on what you created. They understood that what they built could only be as good as human hands could make it, so there's always room for that improvement. This sentiment came from some deeply flawed people, no doubt about that, no question in my mind. They are all very, very deeply flawed. But nonetheless, the sentiment's profound. Now, another point I wanted to bring up is that people don't tend to base their worldview on malice. I know that can be hard to hear and hard to accept, but people aren't believing the things that they believe, by and large, out of hate. Certain people may harbor deeply troubling and harmful views, but they came from somewhere. They have a reason for believing what they believe. See, belief is the conclusion that you draw from lived experience and from education. So if what you lived through and what you were taught lead you down a path and lead you to a conclusion, it might be the natural conclusion for you, or might seem like the natural conclusion at least. Now, if you try to find out why someone holds a certain belief, it can go a long way to finding a peaceful coexistence. An example from my life. Once when I was a teenager, some friends of mine took me to the bowling alley. When we were there, we met another young man, and he had a bandana wrapped around his head like that. And on the bandana was the so-called rebel flag. Now, I made a point of finding him alone so I could ask him about it without embarrassing him in front of other people. And he told me about his life, and he told me about how he'd grown up in a shack in the woods without running water, without electricity. I mean, no toilet, no refrigerator, no air conditioning, no lights, none of the niceties that we all take for granted every day. They hunted to survive, and they lived off of whatever government aid they could get. But it was a miserable life. Undoubtedly, it was a miserable life. And he told me that when he first read about slavery, he liked the idea. Not the idea of enslaving people against their will, but the idea that a person could give up their freedom and work in exchange for having their basic needs met. I don't agree with that, and I never will. But I understand why he held that belief. He didn't hold his views out of malice. He held them because it looked better than the extreme poverty that he was living in. And I heard him out, and I didn't judge him for it. And in return, he heard me out. And I told him my point of view and my perspective. And I recommended some books for him. And we got along well. And there was no trouble. Now, listening to different perspectives isn't harmful, as long as you think critically. It's really the crux of it. You need to have those critical thinking skills so you don't fall into certain traps. If you just follow blindly a leader without questioning them, you could find yourself going down the wrong path before you even notice it. It's easy for people to do, and it happens more often than you think. Now, there are people that have undeniable charisma, and they can move people with just the tone of their voice. Unfortunately, that characteristic tends to come from sociopaths. So the trouble is that following them means following their will and denying your own autonomy. Now you will find that some people will just follow. In spite of all evidence telling them they shouldn't, they will just follow. Now these people can be really frustrating to deal with, but try not to engage with them as much as possible. Hear them out. By all means, hear them out, listen to what they have to say, and listen to where they're coming from, but you don't need to try and change their mind. Now, most people who get stuck in that mindset will eventually find their way out, so it's important to be there and to not judge them for the things that they used to believe. Now, if somebody thinks that when they do change their mind, that people are going to be judgmental and they're going to berate them every time they open their mouth because that's the experience they've lived through, they're going to stay on that wrong path for a lot longer before they see the light, before they start to think better. So it's important in that regard to be as passive as possible. Be a friend. Listen to them. Hear them out. Hear what they have to say. You don't have to agree with it, but you don't have to slam them. You don't have to make them feel bad about the things they believe. It doesn't always give them any benefit. And that's what it's about, is being a benefit to other people. That's advice from me just as much as it is for you. It's extremely difficult to follow, but do your best. And when you encounter those people, try to just listen and hear them out. And it's gonna help them in the long term, God willing, but it's gonna help you in the immediate, because when you aren't having to replay a conversation in your mind and think about that point that you could have made and that you should have made, you're going to sleep better at night. And really, that's not for nothing. Being able to sleep good at night is an important function of just being a human being. Anyway, that's all that I have for you now. So thank you again for stopping by. Please like, subscribe, and interact conscientiously in the comments section below. May peace and blessings be on you and those you love. Good day.